Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise and honor to the Holy One of Israel, to the Creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is, by saying hallelujah. Praise the mighty Yah. Yah is righteous, Yah is holy, and let Yahweh be magnified. Once again, the Creator has allowed us to come before you another day, another night, another week, bringing to you his great, holy, and exalted words, even the words of truth. My name is Mowreh IshYAH YIsraEL of the house of Israel, located right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, 1907 Vine Street, bringing to you nothing but the truth. And yes, it is true. All we're going to do is tell you the truth, for Yah ordained me to tell you the truth. And this is what I'm going to do. And who is this Yah? Yah is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is. Yah is the Elohim of our fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and YIsraEL, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yah is our king, he's our judge, he's our lawgiver. And Yah is our only Savior, and not just of Israel. Yah is the Savior of the world. And I praise the mighty Yah for allowing us to come before you once again to bring to you his great, holy, and exalted words, even the words of truth. This week will be a great week for us because we will be dealing with Yahweh's divine judgment. And why is this so great and why is this so important? Because at the end of this week, even on the Sabbath day, we will begin to sacrifice to Yahweh by fasting 40 days and then 40 nights. That will begin this Sabbath, November the 9th. And so, because this is the week of our fast, it was very important for us to come before you this week to try to inspire all those who might be on the fence, to inspire all those that might not really understand, and to inspire those that really haven't really heard the whole truth and nothing but the truth concerning the sacrifices of the saints of the Most High. And it is a divine judgment. And what is this divine judgment? This divine judgment of 40. Little do people know, even though we will be fasting 40 days and 40 nights, this is not about a fast at all. The very first time you would even hear about 40 days and 40 nights was not a fast. It was during the time of Noah. And Yahweh will rain upon earth his flood waters 40 days and 40 nights. It wasn't a fast at all. And what we will do this week, we will show 7 different circumstances of 40 days and 40 nights, how each one has its own meaning and has its own purpose. This is why it's so vitally important to understand each particular reading of the 40 days and 40 nights. But the very first time you will read this is during the time of Noah. And you want to understand what did it mean during the time of Noah. Because since this was the first time you would even read it, it has very great meaning because it's the first. It is the chief. It is the head. It is the beginning of how Yahweh will use this 40 days and 40 nights as his divine judgment. I may add that because it is the first, you will find its purpose, its meaning in every other judgment. Because this is the first. But what actually does it mean? The first thing I want to show you why it's so important for us to have unity in this thing. I don't care what we're doing as Israelites. Well, it does matter what we are doing because you don't want to have unity in wickedness, in darkness, in evil, in rebellion. Your unity that you want to have must be in righteousness. That's where it must be rooted in. But you want unity. Even though many will do it in wickedness, oftentimes they have great success. All because they're unified. The word unity in the scriptures means one. It comes from the Hebrew word echad, which means to be one, which means to be all together, one unit. And we want to operate as one. Oftentimes we will see something good, hear about something good. The direction can be good. And everything good about this thing, and we still will not unify together in that thing. Why is that? Why will we rebel against something so good? And why will we rebel against unity, oneness? Let me show you what the Almighty said, what the scriptures say about unity. And you'll find this in the book of Psalm. Psalm 50. And this is what it says. And we're going to start reading at the first verse so you can understand exactly what this is saying. Watch what it says. Psalms 50:1. The mighty Elohim, even Yahweh, has spoken and called the earth from the rising of the sun to the going down thereof. Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, Elohim has shined. Our Elohim shall come and shall not keep silent. A fire shall devour before him, and it shall be very tempestuous round about him, which lets you know, even when Yahweh coming to bless, Even when Yahweh is coming in mercy and goodness and truth, even when Yahweh coming to speak, it's fire all around him. It's tempestuous. In other words, it's raging. So you can imagine what will happen when he come in his anger. Watch what it says. He shall call to the heavens from above and to the earth, that he may judge his people. And when Yahweh called to the heavens, and when Yahweh called to the earth to judge his people, this is what Yahweh is calling to the earth to let the people know. Watch the 5th verse. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Yahweh is looking for a sacrifice. Not an individual sacrifice, but a sacrifice in unity. That's why he said, gather my saints together unto me. The heavens shall declare his righteousness, for Elohim has judged himself. Selah. And why did it says the heavens shall declare, meaning the heavens shall speak of his righteousness, which brings us right back to the outro point. The outro point of what this lesson is all about. Yah's divine judgment. And it has everything to do with 40 days and 40 nights. And we're going to see, what was this about? What was this purpose and meaning during the time of Noah? Since this was the very first time. And let us go to it, so we can begin to analyze this, because we, again, want to inspire you. And you will be inspired if you understand. I can understand you not being inspired and not understand, because it takes understanding to be inspired. In the book of Genesis, the 7th chapter, and it's important that we start there, because what you're going to see there is something that Yahweh said for the very first time. And this is what he said in the 4th verse, during the time of Noah. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And we know this, we read this, we understand this, but why? We know that 40 is Yahweh's divine judgment. We understand that. But we're talking about fasting. So what purpose, what meaning is it that Yahweh will reign for 40 days and 40 nights. Other than the fact that it's rain instead of fasting. Watch what it says. Every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. So it's not rocket science to see that this was a time of judgment. Watch what it says in the 12th verse. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Not only he will rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, also the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And of course, that makes total sense. Since it was raining 40 days and 40 nights, it makes total sense that the rain was on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. But then, watch what he says in the 17th verse. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth. Now, instead of calling it rain, now he's saying the flood was 40 days upon the earth, because now it's not just rain. The whole earth began to be flooded, such that, watch what it says, and the waters increased and bore up the ark, and it was lifted up above the earth. I mean, the waters was lifted above the earth. And the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters. And why? Because there was no earth to be seen. And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. This is how the earth was flooded all over. And Yahweh would do that. And Yahweh would do this 40 days and 40 nights. Again, we will read Genesis, the 7th chapter, the 4th verse, where Yahweh talked about raining on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. We will read in the 12th verse where Yahweh rained on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And then in the 17th verse, we will read where the flood waters was upon the earth 40 days, and the waters covered the whole earth. But why? What was this purpose? What was this meaning other than just judgment? Well, let us start from the beginning so you can see what this was really all about. And right before I show you that, let me just show you one more thing. Let's go to Genesis, the 8th chapter. In the book of Genesis, the 8th chapter, the 6th verse. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. This at the end of 40 days. Is Yahweh just trying to be redundant for no reason at all? No. There's a reason why Yahweh will mention this 40 days, this 40 nights, so many different times during the time of Noah. As a matter of fact, this is what Yahweh will say in the book of Isaiah 54 concerning this time of Noah. And then we're going to get right into the meaning and the purpose of this thing. Because we're going to bring to you all the various times where it deals with 40 days and 40 nights and what they mean. And Yahweh is setting in order, meaning and purpose for you to be able to understand and to depart from evil. In the book of Isaiah 54, and we're going to start reading at the 8th verse. Watch what it says. In a little wrath, I hid my face from you for a moment. But with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on you, says Yahweh your Redeemer. For this is as the waters of Noah unto me. For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I will not be angry with you, nor rebuke you. And Yahweh is speaking of the last days, when he began to remember what this is all about. And he will reflect on the waters of Noah and what he has sworn that he would not do to the earth again. This thing will be like that in the last days, after Yahweh have brought judgment. Because once Yahweh bring judgment, you will see that there's no reason to bring it again. Yahweh will not be interested in that anymore, because he will make all to know him, to serve him, to worship him, and to keep his commandments. And that time is coming. But there's one thing that Yahweh is always looking for, and that's what the essence of the 40 days and 40 nights is all about. It's really not about rain. It's really not about fasting. It's really not about during the time of David when he went up against Goliath, or Elijah when he went up against the false prophets. Even all those has purpose and meaning. Or Nineveh, whom Yahweh has spoken out of his mouth to destroy. Or the children of Israel, when they searched out the land for 40 days. No. Or how about our people in the wilderness? See, this thing is greater than what you see on the surface. Oftentimes, we hear the teachers teaching, and people will comment on their words, but they don't hear with understanding. You have to understand what they're saying and what the word is saying. But yet we comment on words, and we missing the whole message. And what message was Yahweh sending to us during the time of Noah? And let me show you the message. We go backwards again to the book of Genesis. Genesis, the 6th chapter. And we're going to start reading the 6th verse. Let's start at the 5th verse. And Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented Yahweh that he had made man on earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And Yahweh said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air. For it repents me that I've made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh. These are the generations of Noah. And watch what it says about Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations. And Noah walked with Elohim. And little do people know that the greatest thing, the greatest message, the one thing that Yahweh is looking for. And before I say the word, let me read a little bit more. And Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth also was corrupt before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence. And Elohim looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And Elohim said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. And he began to instruct Noah exactly what to do. And why? Because of this one thing that you're going to find in every example that we give. Every 40 day and 40 night, we will show all the various testimonies. They all have this one thing in common. And it's in Genesis, the 7th chapter, the very first verse. And this is what it says. And Yahweh said unto Noah, come you and all your house into the ark, for you have I seen righteous before me in this generation. And that's what it's all about. See, little do people know, the Creator said He is well pleased for his righteousness' sake. He will magnify the law and make it honorable. And Yahweh, anytime he want to make the law honorable, anytime he want to magnify the law, he will do it through his servants. And that servant that Yahweh will do it through is Noah. But what would he do to magnify the law and make it honorable? What would he do through his servant? He will have them walk in a righteous way. And why? Because he is so well pleased for his righteousness' sake. And anytime Yahweh is judging, he's always looking for the righteous. So you may ask yourself, why did he have to reign 40 days and 40 nights? And in truth, he didn't. You notice he didn't do that in Sodom and Gomorrah. And you might think he didn't do it in Sodom and Gomorrah because he promised not to do that again. He swore not to do that again. No, this is not the only way Yahweh will and can destroy. The reason why Yahweh would do this 40 days and 40 nights is because Yahweh is always looking for the righteous. He's looking always for someone to stand up and plead the righteous cause. He's always looking for someone to do the righteous thing. He's looking for the righteous. Watch what it says in this same Genesis 7th chapter. After he told Noah and all his house to come into the ark, for he seen righteous before him in this generation. And what was Noah known for? Was it not his righteousness? Watch what it says. 23rd verse of this same Genesis 7th chapter. And every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, the creeping things, and the fowl of the heaven. And they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. And why? Because Yahweh seen something in him that he's looking for in everybody. And that is righteousness. He's looking for righteousness. Which is the number one thing, the chief thing, the main thing that you want to concern yourself with. Don't get caught up in the trials and tribulations of mankind. You want to get yourself caught up in the Most High, in the Elohim of heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is. Because he's looking for you, which gets us back to what Yahweh said, gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. And then the Almighty said he would declare their righteousness from heaven. Why? Because that's what Yahweh is looking for. Little also do people know the very first time the word righteous was even mentioned. Righteousness was during the time of Noah. Even though there were others that walked with Elohim. But the very first time it was mentioned, the first time it came out of Yahweh's mouth, and the first man that Yahweh would subscribe, not just with his hands, but with his mouth, to be righteous, is Noah. Now, do you see how important not only his testimony is, but how perfect Yahweh's word is? Because even though it rained on the earth 40 days and 40 nights, all Yahweh was doing was looking for the righteous. And then you have some people, they will think about, man, it was only a remnant. It was just one family. It was just this one man that Yahweh would talk about. And all that is true, but that's not what Yahweh wants you thinking about. For Yahweh has no pleasure at all in the death of the wicked. Yahweh's pleasure is that the wicked turn from his way and do what is right and lawful in his sight. Yahweh wants you to be caught up in righteousness and not in numbers. Whether there's a few or whether there's many. He wants you to be caught up in righteousness. In the book of Ezekiel 14, let's turn there. Oh, it's only going to be one. It's only going to be one family. It's only going to be one of a city. It's only going to be this. It's only going to be that. Don't forget what Yahweh is looking for. In the book of Ezekiel 14, watch what it says. The 12th verse. The word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, Son of man, When the land sins against me by trespassing grievously, then will I stretch out my hand upon it, will break the staff for the bread thereof, will send famine upon it, will cut off man and beast from it. And this is the key verse. 14th verse. Though these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it, they should deliver but their own souls by their righteousness, says Yahweh Elohim. And you see, Noah is mentioned first. And why? What is it about this Noah? Well, that's what Yahweh seen in him. He seen righteousness. Did not Yahweh say, gather my saints together unto me? Because part of righteousness is our unity in one another. Our ability to overcome the obstacles of unity, but yet come together and unify. And that takes a certain level of righteousness. 15th verse. If I cause northern beasts to pass through the land, and they spoil it so that it is desolate, that no man may pass through because of the beast, though these three men were in it, as I live, says Yahweh, they shall deliver neither sons nor daughters. They only shall be delivered, but the land shall be desolate. Now you notice when we started reading this, well, I won't show you in this. Let's keep reading this, but I want you to see something before we adjourn this discussion. Or if I bring a sword upon the land and say, sword, grow through the land so that I cut off man and beast from it. Though these three men were in it, as I live, says Yahweh, they shall deliver neither sons nor daughters, but they only shall be delivered themselves. Or if I send pestilence into that land, pour out my fury upon it in blood to cut off from it man and beast. Though Noah, Daniel, and Job were in it, as I live, says Yahweh, they shall deliver neither son nor daughter. They shall but deliver their own souls by their righteousness. For thus says Yah, how much more when I send my four grievous judgments upon Jerusalem, the sword, the famine, the northern beast, and the pestilence, to cut off from it man and beast. And this is what Yahweh has done. This is what Yahweh is doing, and this is what Yahweh will do again. 22nd verse. Yet behold, therein shall be left a remnant that shall be brought forth, both sons and daughters. Behold, they shall come forth unto you, and you shall see their way and their doings. And what will be their way? What will be their doings? And let me tell you what it's going to be. Righteousness. It will be righteousness. And why? Because this is what Yahweh is looking for. And you shall be confident concerning the evil that I brought upon Jerusalem, even concerning all that I brought upon it. And they shall comfort you when you see their ways and their doings. And you shall know that I have not done without cause. All that I've done in it says Yahweh Elohim. See, Yahweh is always looking for righteousness. Why do you think Yahweh said this to our great father Abraham? Watch what he said. To show you how Yahweh look at righteousness. In the book of Genesis, the 15th chapter. In the book of Genesis 15, the first verse. After these things, the word of Yahweh came to Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am your shield and your exceedingly great reward. And Abraham says, Yahweh, what will you give me, seeing I go childless? And the steward of my house is this Eleazar of Damascus. And Abram said, Behold, to me you have given no seed, and look, one born in my house is my heir. And behold, a word of Yahweh came to him, saying, This shall not be your heir, but he that shall come forth out of your own bowels shall be your heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now towards the heavens, and tell the stars, if you are able to number them. And he said to him, So shall your seed be. Abraham could have counted to 1,000,000. He could have counted to 1,000. He could have counted to 100. Because whatever he counted to, he said, This is what your seed shall be. And he just, 6th verse, and he believed in Yahweh. And he counted it to him for righteousness. In other words, Yahweh is actually counting our righteousness as he look to seek our righteousness. So when Yahweh looked down upon Noah, he seen righteousness in him. And how and why? Because Yahweh counted his righteousness. And Yahweh is counting our righteousness today. And even though that was the first time Yahweh even mentioned the word righteous in the book of Genesis, the 7th chapter, very first time. The next time that Yahweh will mention that word called righteousness was not to talk about flattering things, just telling you about somebody being righteous, not to glorify some man or anything like that, because he wasn't doing that with Noah. He was telling you why he spared Noah, why he saved Noah, and why he put Noah in the ark. Because that's what Yahweh is looking for in divine judgment. But the next time Yahweh would even mention that word righteous is in the book of Genesis, the 18th chapter. Let us turn there. In the book of Genesis 18, and I'm not going to bore you with this story. I want to inspire you. And I want you to see the main substance of this story. What this is all about. In the book of Genesis 18, watch what it says in the 23rd verse. Because you know this story. And Abraham drew near and said, will you also destroy the righteous with the wicked? In other words, during the time of Noah, Yahweh came to destroy the whole earth. Well, during the time of Abraham, Yahweh came to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. So what do you think Yahweh want to see? What do you think Yahweh is looking for? And what do you think Yahweh is emphasizing? Yes, righteousness. So Abraham began to question Yahweh, will you destroy the righteous with the wicked? Why? Because that's what it's all about. We're talking about divine judgment. And look how many times he used this word righteous. We see it once in the 23rd verse. Then in the 24th verse, and Abraham drew near and said, or the 24th verse, perhaps there are 50 righteous within the city. Will you also destroy and spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? In other words, he mentioned it 2 more times. So now the word righteous is mentioned 3 times in this conversation between Abraham and Yahweh. Then in the 25th verse, that be far from you to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from you. Should not the judge of all the earth do right? In other words, he mentioned it 2 more times, which now we up to 5 times the word is mentioned. Then in the 26th verse, and Yahweh said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. Now we mentioned it 6 times. 27th verse. And Abraham answered and said, behold, now I've taken upon me to speak to Yahweh, which am but dust and ashes. Perhaps there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. We're in the 28th verse now. Will you destroy all the city for the lack of 5? And he said, if I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. Now this mentioned 7 times. 29th verse. And he spoke to him yet again, perhaps there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 46. And he said to him, oh, let not Yahweh be angry, and I will speak. Perhaps there's 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it for 30 there. And he said, behold, now I've taken upon me to speak to Yahweh. Perhaps there's 20 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 20's sake. And he said, oh, let not Yahweh be angry. I will speak yet but this once. Perhaps 10 be found there. And he said, I will not do it for 10's sake. And Yahweh went his way as soon as he had left communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. In other words, 7 different times it came out of the mouth of Abraham and Yahweh conversing with one another, the word righteous was mentioned 7 times. Why? Because when Yahweh is bringing about divine judgment, as he was in Sodom and Gomorrah, as he was during the time of Noah, he's always looking for righteousness. He's always looking for the righteous. And Yahweh is always counting the righteous for their righteous deed. Now, how much righteousness do you have to have? How much righteousness must you display? How much righteousness do Yahweh have to see? Who knows? But make no mistake about it. Yahweh is counting. Yahweh is looking forward. And as I stated before, this is the main thing. This is the number one thing. This is the chief thing that Yahweh is looking for. And you're going to read different reasons why Yahweh will bring about these 40 days and 40 nights. But they all amount to one main thing. And we're going to show you their differences. Whether it's fighting a war, as David did, or a battle. Whether you go on a journey and you go against the false prophets, as Elijah did. Or whether you're going to spare out the land, as the children of Israel did. Or maybe you're going to fast before Yahweh, as Moses did twice. Or maybe you're trying to save yourself, as Nineveh did. Whatever the 40 days and 40 night reason was, the main reason is for the righteous. Yahweh is looking for righteousness. He's looking for the righteous. He's looking to see who's going to stand up to be righteous. And all it takes is 40 days and 40 nights for Yahweh to see. Yeah, Yahweh already know. But for a testimony and for a witness, Yahweh wants you to know what he already know from the beginning. Even before it happens, for a witness and a testimony, that it just takes 40 days and 40 nights. So he began to rain, just so you can see for yourself. Even as the waters began to increase. Did that change people? Did that turn people's heart? Did that make people desperate to do what is right? Undoubtedly, it did not. Even though he reigned 40 days and 40 nights. But what is righteousness? Since we're talking about righteousness, and since this is what Yahweh is looking for anyway, this is the main thing. This is the chief thing. The number one thing. And why? Because Yahweh is well pleased with his righteousness' sake. Well pleased with it. So pleased that he will go through great lengths to magnify the law and make it honorable. But what is righteousness? So that we can understand what we must do to be counted for our righteousness' sake, for our righteousness. If you look at the book of Deuteronomy, it would answer this golden question. In the book of Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, and I give you an opportunity to get there. See, we don't have to be confused about the word of Yahweh. We can actually understand it. And execute it. And watch what it says in Deuteronomy 6, the 20th verse. And when your son asks you in time to come, saying, what mean the testimonies? What mean the statutes? What mean the judgments which Yahweh our Elohim has commanded you? Then you shall say to your son, we were Pharaoh's bondmen in Egypt, and Yahweh brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. And Yahweh showed signs and wonders, great and grievous, upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household before our eyes. And he brought us out from there, that he might bring us in, to give us the land which he swore unto our fathers. And Yahweh commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahweh our Elohim, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is this day. And watch what it says. 25th verse. And you don't want to never ever forget this scripture. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahweh our Elohim, as he has commanded us. So what is this letting us know? This letting us know that anybody who's attempting to take you away from the commandments of Yahweh, you don't have to keep his commandments. You don't have to keep his Sabbath day. You don't have to wear no fringes, no ZZs. You don't have to eat clean. You don't have to separate yourself. You don't have to keep the holy days. You don't have to do this and you don't have to do that. They trying to steal your soul. They are an ambassador of hell and not the instrument of life. This is your righteousness. So what Yahweh seen in Noah is that he was a commandment keeper. And ask yourself, are you a commandment keeper? Because all that we will read in the testimonies of Yahweh about these 40 days, about these 40 nights, about this divine judgment, is all about looking, searching, seeking the righteous. And all it takes, whether it's raining, whether you're in war, whether you're spying out the land, whether you're in the wilderness, it don't matter what reason that bring about the 40 days and the 40 nights. Yahweh is looking for the righteous. Because the righteousness that he's looking for is whether you are keeping his commandments before him. Are you a commandment keeper? You also find in the book of Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, and watch what it says. In the book of Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, 5th verse. Behold, I've taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh my Elohim commanded me, that you should do so in the land where you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding. So as we can see, it's not just our righteousness. This is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who has Elohim so nigh unto them, as Yahweh our Elohim is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I have set before you this day? Nobody, no one, and nothing. This is our righteousness. This is wisdom. This is our understanding. And this is the thing that Yahweh is looking for, searching out, seeking. Do you have any wisdom in you? Do you have any understanding in you? Do you have any righteousness in you? 40 days and 40 nights. No matter what thing is going on, the sun shining or raining from heaven, all it takes is 40 days and 40 nights to see what you really made of. And who have to call to you to let you know about 40 days and 40 nights? Is it Jonah? He have to say it to you? Do Goliath have to come before you 40 days for you to understand it? Do Yahweh have to send you on a journey and spy out the land 40 days for you to understand it? Do he have to send a prophet on a journey for 40 days as he did Elijah? Do somebody have to fast 40 days and 40 nights as Moses did for you to understand. What will it take for you to understand Yahweh's divine judgment? Noah understood it. And because he understood it, Yahweh seen righteousness in him. Here we are in the last days. And being in the last days, Yahweh said he don't change. Season change. Time change. You and I change. But Yahweh don't change. And this is what Yahweh would say. As a sign to let you know what the main thing is all about. In the book of Jeremiah 33. And watch what this is. And we're going to start reading. In the book of Jeremiah 33, the 15th verse. Behold, in those days, and at that time, will I cause the branch of righteousness to grow up unto David. Because see, this branch is going to grow up. When do you think it's going to grow up? In the last days. When is that? During the time of judgment. When is that? When Yahweh planned on saving, delivering in the time of the end. And he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the land. In those days shall Yehudah be saved. Jerusalem shall dwell safely. And this is the name which he shall be called. Yahweh, our righteousness. And what is that? Siddiq Yah, Yah righteousness. Or Siddiq Yanu, which is Yahweh our righteousness. Because that's what Yahweh is looking for. And why? Because Yahweh himself is righteous. And Yahweh wants sons and daughters that are righteous. Because if you are, and Yahweh is counting it, it is only because you are a commandment keeper. You read the same thing in Jeremiah 23. Turn there. Yahweh's divine judgment. During the time of Noah, Yahweh said, I seen righteousness in you in this generation. Because that's what Yahweh is looking for. That's the main thing. That's the number one thing. The whole testimony is about. I'll let it rain. You think it takes 40 days and 40 nights for Yahweh to destroy everything? No. Yahweh just wanted to seek out the righteous. And that's all it takes. is 40 days and 40 nights. In the book of Jeremiah, the 23rd chapter, the 5th verse, behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and the king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days, Yehudah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. And this is the name whereby he shall be called. Sadiq Yanu. Yahweh, our righteousness. Why? Because that's what Yahweh is looking for. Why? Because that's what Yahweh is seeking. Why? Because that's what Yahweh actually counts. Do I know what that number is? No. Do you know what that number is? No. But how long does it take to search and seek it out? 40 days and 40 nights. That's all it takes. Because this is Yahweh's divine judgment. And let's get righteous. Let's be righteous. Let's do righteous. Let's be commandment keepers. And we entered into 40 days and 40 nights where we can begin to change our own hearts and save our own selves. So until tomorrow, Yahweh love you. And so do I. Shalom.
My refuge and my fortress protects me from the wicked's deadly ordinance. Snakes master psychology, phony people studying fakeology. Y'all see I'm a god, it's not ego. Psalms 82 verse 6. Even JC know who be me. Lion face crew be deep. Soldiers for y'all, screw these streets in front like the heat goat. That's how I leap, waiting on the master. In the meantime, studying for my masters, building houses, growing college, sharpen my sword, and I'm cutting up scholars, raising my sons, searching for the wife. Yah, I pray he find a virtuous one, stand for justice, relieve the oppressed. Call on Yah, deliver the fatherless, let Israel be blessed.
Keeping my eyes on Yah, I won't let up. I'm strong and bold, I won't give up. When I fall, he came and saved me. The righteous fall, don't let up. Every time we gon' get up. When I call, he came and saved me.
Yo, when the poor oppress the poor, it's like the sweeping rain, leaving no food, just pain. But Yah's name I exclaim, feed my brethren wisdom. Yah willing, he will do the same. Shame and calamity on my family, trapped in captivity. Many years ago, holding the calico, never know how my light glowed till I stepped through them two doors. Left church, cause that was just fool's gold. My eyes the color of onyx. Yah's message came to me as clear as you telephonically alerting me. He opened the scrolls and fed his word to me. Now I must give to those hope lost whose spirit is froze. The knowledge of how they conquer their foes. Enemies be hatred of self. Something dangerous like this crack is wealth. Let's flee Babylon and let Yah be our help.
Keeping my eyes on Yah, I won't let up. I be strong and bold, I won't give up. When I fall, He came and saved me. The righteous fall, don't let up. 'Cause every time we go